Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Shay Jones. I'm a behavioral health advocate and I'm in Luzerne and Schuylkill area.
Hi, everybody. My name is Soraya Ranger, and I am the behavioral health advocate for the Allegheny County.
So today we're doing Wellness to Work group. We do a different topic every month. We send out a deliverable with some of the information, in a handout, and then we run a live group for you. So this month's group for January is about maintaining positive changes. So as we get rolling today, feel free. Soraya is going to keep her eye on the chat box. If you want to interject, raise your hand, use the chat box to interact with us, but we'll have time to kind of take a break and process some of the stuff as we go. Okay, let me slip to the next slide here. So the reason that we picked this topic, we try to do a different topic theme each month that kind of goes with what's relevant, right? What's impacting us today. And so New Year's, right? It seems to be a time when we look at, ending a year, letting go of things, and then rejuvenating ourselves, renewing ourselves, refreshing, restarting, right? We tend to use this time to kind of take an inventory. How was last year? What's going well in our lives? What are some things we want to improve? And that's just like a normal thing that comes with anytime there's a calendar change or a cycle change. So setting objectives and goals is a great way to make meaningful changes. But in reality, we aren't always necessarily good at sticking to goals. And that really does include New Year's resolutions. So today is what, January 24th. So we were 24 days in with resolutions. I don't even know if I remember what I said. So one thing I like to think about when resolutions, it's just so easy to forget them, to fail on them. And we're going to talk all about the stages of change and normalize that. But I almost lean more into like setting an intention versus making these changes. So thinking about that as we go through. And we always like to give you some research and some stats. So just so you don't feel alone, a recent study found that 64%, so 2/3 of people, they just abandon those New Year's resolutions within a month. So we're hitting that 1 month mark. If you don't even remember what you said, if you're like, oh yeah, I thought I meant to do that, you're not alone. 16% of Americans will keep some of the resolutions and 13% will keep none. So where do you fall in that category, right? And then also, what's the reason? So some really common reasons why resolutions fail. Lacking willpower. I'm not sure if I like the word willpower, but like motivation ebbs and flows. So just normalize that. Because you don't maintain a goal you set out for doesn't mean you're lazy, but some people identify as, hey, I'm too lazy to do that thing. Or we forget. New habits are really hard to implement in our routine. And then the most popular resolutions every year: healthy eating, being more active, and managing finances. Those are the top three people say. And if I think back, for sure. So this is a time where we take a pause to kind of tune in with you all. And so to the right here, I have some prompting questions. So what are some resolutions that you made this year? Or if you're like me, intentions, what are some intentions that you're setting? And then with that, what are the barriers that you're encountering to make this commitment stick? And so to give you all some time to use the chat box and think about it, I will throw it to Soraya to kind of say, what are you thinking? How is this hitting your ear?
Yes, I can kind of resonate with you on the trying to set intentions as well. And I think this year, specifically for me, I'm trying to set my intention to say yes more to opportunities that are going to help me grow. I know I've definitely fallen in that 16%. I've definitely fallen in that 13% before. And it's not a great feeling, but it's also not the end all be all. So for me, saying yes to new opportunities means that I have to challenge some of the barriers, which would be maybe second guessing myself, negative self-talk, anything like that. I know that that's been a struggle for me in the past. And this year I've really, really been intentional about focusing on my environment and who's around me and, really trying to set myself up for that success. How about you, Shay? What are some resolutions or intentions that you've set up to make this year?
So I love that. I think that you kind of we're similar, right? So a lot of the things that hold me back as well is that self-talk. It's definitely like the lack of confidence in yourself, or for me also, it's not prioritizing it. So yeah, I'm working this year on more of just accepting rather than ruminating or dwelling on things that aren't.
Mm,
Just the things I have no control over, trying to tune in with it before I get upset,
mm.
and just really leaning into, responding versus reacting with an emotion. Like, hey, it may not be great, but it is. And that's really kind of what my intention is, just kind of go with the flow a little bit more this year.
I love that. I think
Nice.
that a lot of people can relate to that. And feel free, like even if you're not using the chat, unmute yourself and give your response if you feel like it. If you resonate with any of the material that we're talking about. I see one comment in the chat from Caitlin, and she says, I do not normally make resolutions, but overall I have ADHD and it makes forming new habits difficult. I'm
Mm,
here because I want some tips and tricks to stay consistent with them.
mm.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yeah,
Peg says, I'm working on letting go of expectations.
that's
Okay.
a good one.
Um, Caitlin, with having ADHD and forming new habits, I personally can resonate with that one for sure. That's probably one of the most difficult parts of managing that. But look what you're doing right now, right? Like, look what door that you stepped into to help you feel better supported with that. You're putting yourself into a position to gain some tips, and I think that is extremely noble. Um, yeah, and I see Yvonne Cherie down here says eating healthier. Yeah, that's also a great one. The messages are popping now. Everything's gone off in here.
So I'll
Uh,
jump in as you're, processing that. I think the other thing is eating healthier is so broad. Like,
mm,
what does that mean? And so one reason that resolutions may fail is like, we're not clear enough, we're not specific enough. So it's really wishy-washy, or it's too broad, right? Like eating healthy, what does that even mean? Maybe
mhm.
it's just something I'm really clear on. I'm just going to focus on one thing. I'm just going to drink more water. So whatever it is, just really tuning in, sometimes narrowing it down could get away from that barrier.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point that you made, because when it gets too broad, it can kind of feel too big,
Mhm.
and when you kind of maybe fall off or slide back a little bit, maybe it's a lot more intimidating because it feels so big, right? So narrowing it down, like Shay said, and really focusing on an objective to that goal
Mhm.
first is going to be really important. Um, we've got another message in the comment from Heather. It says, my intention for the following year is to set more healthy boundaries for myself and my family. I love how Soraya mentioned she would like to say yes more.
Mhm.
This year, I would like to say no more if it is
Mhm.
not benefiting my best interest of my family for the future. Love that,
I love
right? Not
that too.
everybody's intentions are the same, right? You have to make it fit fit your needs, fit what works for you.
Very cool.
Let's see. Kendall says being less stressful and eating healthier as well. Athena says the most helpful way I broke myself of negative thoughts was to become detective and ask yourself if the thought is a fact, or if it is a fact, how can you fix or change it? Very, very, very good. Super insightful, you guys. I
That
love
is a
that.
very good one. Yeah. Because our thoughts are, it's the narrative we tell ourselves, but it's not always the truth,
No,
right? That's a
yes,
very good tip. Thank you.
thoughts are not fact, not all the time. Okay. All right. I think that's it for the questions in the chat so far.
Right. Let me see if I could advance this screen for us. That would be lovely. Okay. So sorry about that. Okay, so again, we talked about barriers, things that hold us back. We talked about some intentions, some goals. So to succeed in achieving resolutions, you first need to understand the three most important elements of changing any behavior. So to the right here, we need to have readiness to change, right? Are we acknowledging it? Do we have the knowledge? Do we have the resources? Do we feel ready and prepared to do that? Number two, what's preventing this change? Is it me? Is it the people in my life who don't respect that boundary? Is it lack of resources? What's the barrier that holds you back? And then 3, what's the likelihood of relapse into old behaviors, right? So I can make all these positive changes, but being aware of like what could make that old behavior return, just likelihood of tuning in with reality of that. So
Mm.
another question down to the bottom left here. How do you think that you could increase your personal readiness to make a change when you're figuring out some of these goals? Like, how do you increase your readiness?
Hmm. I'll field that one while you
Yeah.
guys, think about that, hit the chat. And again, feel free to raise your hand. You can speak freely in here as well. But personally, how I increase my readiness to change, a lot of that has to do with my support system. If I have other people that are knowing of my goals and are willing to support me through it, that makes me feel more ready to take action, to really put them into motion. So making sure that my support system is informed and they're also ready to help me make that action as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Sometimes when, you know, we are around people that just are used to the way we are, or maybe that they're not wanting to make the change that we are. So I think tuning into support systems is really key, and also acknowledging like this may not be, not intentionally, but like this may not be a place that's going to encourage me to give up this thing or to do this thing, right? So knowing that sometimes supports can help us, but also maybe somebody is not that support, and that's that kind of triggered a relapse. For me, I'm really into learning. And so like I try to seek out, pages on social media, or I try to seek out audiobooks, something that continues to teach me the tricks, the tips, give me the knowledge. That's how I tend to prep for a change. Yeah, anybody else commenting?
Yeah, Athena says, and I just want to comment before, I love that because you do always send like really good tips and resources. You have them on deck. So I noticed that is definitely a big part of your system. Athena says, focusing on a section at a time instead of as a whole, so I don't get overwhelmed. That helps her readiness of change. I love
Great
that.
tip. Yeah, very cool. And so anybody else wants to comment or contribute? And if we go past a slide and you didn't get a chance, it doesn't mean you can't comment, hey, I wanted to say this thing, or, somebody said this and that made me think of that. So even if we're past the prompting question, please feel free to contribute.
Yeah, and if I miss a comment in the box, feel free to raise your hand. I will, unmute yourself and or hit the chat box again, and we'll get back to you for sure.
So I'm going to roll forward here. This is like where this looks busy, but I'm going to break it down for you. While I'm yapping here about this, Soraya, do you mind throwing the link in for attendance? So some people may not be listed under their name, and we want to make sure everybody gets attended. So if you would click this link, and just it'll be a quick question for your name and what county you're in. That'll help us keep track. So stages of change. This is the psychology behind how, when, why, what we're feeling, what we're doing. And so let's pick one thing, right? So we start up at the top left here, pre-contemplation. We all start here, right? I don't have a problem. I don't need to change. There's nothing going on here. Everything's fine. But a lot of us tend to be more aware in contemplation, where we're questioning. So contemplation is questioning. I've thought about going to the gym. I've thought about saving money. I've read a couple of books. I'm kicking it around, but I'm really, I'm not in denial about it. I know there could be some benefits. So it's kind of weighing the pros and cons. That's contemplation. And then we go down through preparation. That's me most of the time in my life, is reading the books, figuring out the stuff, trying to plan. Attending groups like this might be part of preparation. And then they kind of blur, right? They kind of blur and blend. That prep somehow turns into action, right? Prep is making the plan. It's doing the SMART goals. It's getting our support systems. It's resetting our alarm in the morning. It's whatever it is the prep work. And then action is like, I'm actually doing the stuff. I'm actually doing the stuff. I'm holding myself accountable. I'm increasing this, decreasing that. And then this is where after action, I can go back and forth. This is not once I reach this step, I'm all good. I could go back to denial at some point. Ugh, what was I thinking? I'm totally fine with this behavior. I can go back to questioning. I could go back to that didn't work. I need to re-prep. I can go back and forth in all these stages. And then when we go to something like maintenance and relapse, relapse can occur at any point. It's just recycling back into an older stage or an older behavior. And it's not good, bad, or in between. It's just something that happens, right? It's something that happens. And maintenance, we know we're in maintenance when we're no longer consciously working towards this, right? So think of a behavior that you've really stopped or quit, or something that you've implemented, and you can kind of look at yourself and go, huh, I'm not a smoker anymore. I don't identify as a smoker. I now identify as a non-smoker. There's not as much effort I have to do to put into this. That's how I know I'm kind of like in maintenance / exit. It's not a part of like the forefront of what I'm thinking about versus, oh, I still ebb and flow with my finances. I still ebb and flow with my anger. That's where this relapse spiral happens. Until it becomes second nature, I wouldn't say, I'm exited out of anything. I can always be in a maintenance stage. And that's where we talk about things like relapse prevention, is finding the people, places, and things that will keep us away from the triggers and away from the relapse. So I know that was kind of a lot, but does this make sense? And like thinking about this, thinking about how you can apply this to any, desired change of behavior, how do you think learning about the stages of change could help you better understand your progress in the goals that you have for yourself?
Yes, definitely think on that. I do see a comment in here from Caitlin pertaining to relapse. And she says, my biggest problem is relapse. I will delay on things I even enjoy doing whenever I experience that. And then Athena says, change is uncomfortable, but worth pushing through and not giving up. So yeah, good things to think about, as we try to kind of understand, how these stages affect our progress. I know for me, understanding which one that I'm in each goal can be tricky, but it's very helpful. And something that you brought up, Shay, in our development of this is that we can have multiple goals and be in different stages. So also balancing that, can be tricky, but I think understanding where I'm at and understanding the effort or maybe lack of effort I have to put in to each goal or each stage that I'm in is very helpful.
Very true. And I think just acknowledging that motivation ebbs and flows each day. And even when you are in what we call like a maintenance phase, there could be days where you second guess that you even want to continue. There's days that you try to talk yourself out of the thing that you swore you were done contemplating, right? We sometimes forget the why. And I think for me, anytime it comes to changes or potentially going back on something I felt so good about, I have to go back to the why. Number one, why am I getting off track? But more importantly, why is this goal important to me? What is the internal reason that I would want to make this goal? When I go back to the why, and it's things like, so I feel good about myself. So I'm there for my family. So like just all the big reasons why, it tends to like take away from the pressure of slipping, lapsing, relapsing, going back into older behaviors, just not beating yourself up and knowing that this is a totally, totally normal part of any change.
Absolutely. I love that. Finding your why is so important when you're in the thick of this. In the chat, Heather says, the stages of change is a great way to stay organized and stay on track. Absolutely. I love that. And I need that, especially with dealing with my own disorganization. Rashida says, finding something I like or love and keeping my expectation or goal on that subject. Love that. That definitely helps with your why, right? If you love it and you like it and something that you want, you're going to feel extra motivated to keep on it.
Well, so I just heard the word expectation. I think we also want to know that we're not going to jump out of denial and go into maintenance. Like we need to have realistic expectations, thinking about, well, for 20 some years of my life, I've done things this way. And for the last 3 days, I've been trying to do things this way. Know that like realistically, it's going to take time to make that your new routine. So don't beat yourself up.
I love that. Also in the chat, Von Tree says, this is my year of no relapses. I think developing the routine I currently have has empowered me not to look back. My support team as well has my desire to succeed, is emitting new
Yeah.
positive results. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, just to touch on this, if you don't mind, like
Yeah.
we a lot of times associate the word relapse to substances, but it's
Mhm.
literally like any behavior, a
Mhm.
relapse into a former functioning, right? So when just specifically about substance use or any behavior, codependency, anger, explosive anger, whatever it is, but like leaning into maladapted coping skills, right? It's not enough to get rid of the behavior we're looking to avoid. We have to also
Mhm.
build in good stuff. We can't just take away the coping skill and not replace it. So if drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, coffee, anger, relationships, if all those things you're getting benefit out of it, and then you just take it away and you don't add something in to replace that old behavior, something more positive, you're more likely to go back to that, right? We need to
Mhm.
also build up the stuff that we were getting out. Like I get something out of overeating, or I get something out of binge watching. I get something out of it. So I need to take that energy and, find and learn new ways to cope as well.
Absolutely. And in the chat, Nanny says, setting self goals makes positive decisions. And Kendall says, her goal is to keep routine and staying focused. I love that as well, you guys.
Very cool.
Um,
I'm
okay.
going to toss it over to Sarai to give us a real life example.
Yeah, so I thought, I choose something that maybe some of us could relate to, but I chose a goal to feel less anxious. Now, this can be any goal that you want to choose. I'm just going to walk us through each stage and kind of show us what it might feel like to be that person going through each stage. So let's say, our goal is to feel less anxious. We're in the pre-contemplation stage. Usually you're not aware of any changes you need to be made. Maybe, you feel anxious, but you accept that's just how I am. So there's no desire to change. There's no contemplation to think about it, maybe until somebody brings it up to you and you notice that it can improve. When you're in the contemplation stage, you might say to yourself, I noticed I experience a stressor at work or home. I get uncomfortable. I get very anxious. I wonder what I could do to help with that, right? You're thinking of a better experience. You're thinking of a better result to what's going on within you. So now you're moving into the preparation stage. To me, that's gathering all your tools before you're going to build this nice house that you're going to live in, right? So you want to make sure that you have everything in front of you so that you're better apt to succeed. So I'm going to research ways to reduce my anxiety by talking to a professional, by learning your triggers, right? To me, that's one of the biggest parts. And informing your support system of your new goal. So now you're not the only one prepared. Everybody else around you is prepared to help you succeed. Action stage. Keeping your goal moving forward, you're going to have to practice those healthy coping skills daily, right? And for a lot of people, I think that consistency is the hard part. For me, definitely. Also, challenging your negative thoughts. Practicing your skills not only at home when you're comfortable, but in the workplace, outside in different environments. And then once you get really into that groove of being in an action stage, you really develop a rhythm. Once that rhythm is set, I feel like that's when maintenance comes. To maintain your goal of feeling less anxious, I'm going to track my progress, right? Let's see how we're actually doing. I know that kind of seems different when you're thinking about anxiety, but journaling, talking with your support system, seeing what changes they've seen in you while you've been going through these different stages. I think a lot of that is really just holding yourself accountable and having others hold you accountable while you're going through these stages as well. This doesn't always have to be, or it doesn't only have to be anxiety. It could be, I want to set better boundaries this year. I want to be healthier. I want to go on a 2-mile run without stopping. Any kind of goal you set, think about, the place where you're at, what you need to set yourself up, can you actively keep going, and how can you maintain that? And if you do relapse, understand that you went through these stages. You still have more tools than you had when you first started. And it's not the end all be all. When you fall off a bike, do you lose that muscle memory? Probably not, right? So how can you get yourself to keep going even after a fallback?
Very cool.
Okay.
So I'd love to comment on like the maintenance stage that you mentioned. You talk about like journaling and checking in with a support system. I also like checking in with myself. And like
Mm,
one way I visualize it is like a scale, right? 0 is I have no anxiety at all. This is like cool, calm, the best I feel. And 10 is like I am so anxious, I don't know what to do with myself. If I can
mm,
tune in the morning, I'm feeling about a 4 or 5. I'm feeling about a 7 or 8. Like if I tune into where I'm at on what feels anxious to me, right then and there, before I get up to unmanageable, I'm already tuning into it and I'm using my coping skills. I'm reaching out, I'm doing the relapse
mm.
prevention right there. And then at the end of the day, you can also you make that part of your journal. Overall today, I basically felt like a 3, which if I didn't think about it, I wouldn't acknowledge how much farther
Mm.
I've grown, right? Typically I'm a 5 and now I've been a 3 for the last 3 days. I think that is a nice way in maintenance is to just keep acknowledging your growth with simple ways like, just scaling.
I absolutely love that because, sometimes I have to remind myself, not everybody has that support system that's willing to get there with
Yep.
you, right? So checking in with yourself, scaling in different situations, maybe even scaling when you're really anxious to see if you're in that situation again.
Yep.
Has it gone down? Has it gone up? I think that's really, really valuable.
Sarai, I'd love to like be devil's advocate for a second and say, sometimes the people that we're closest to can be the ones that
Ah,
get under our skin and make us anxious. So I
oh, yeah.
think just knowing that, having an expectation for not all of us are perfect. It's not an either or, it's not black and white. You can still be my support, and something about your energy makes me anxious. Knowing that ahead of time, having realistic expectations, really tuning into the self-care to like set myself in that bubble.
Mhm.
I think just normalizing that, right? Some of our support systems can be our trigger.
Absolutely. That is a good point, right? And I think going back to what you said with checking in with yourself, those are some things that you can kind of notice about your support system. So I love that. In the chat, Athena says 100 days of doing something to turn it into a habit is very helpful. So yeah, emphasizing that consistency. Um, and I feel like maybe that comes in the action stage, when you're doing something so consistent, it really feels like, okay, now it's part of me now. I can really
Mhm.
get into that maintenance stage of my goal. I love that.
Cool.
Okay, this is our did you know? Right. So most of us spend about a third of our lives at work. That's not the most bright piece of information, but it's true for a lot of us. So positive changes made in the workplace are bound to have an effect on on other aspects of our lives. As we ring in 2023, it is the perfect time to focus on what improvements can be made going forward, whether you are in the office, working from home, or doing a hybrid of both. Some workplace resolutions might aim to increase use of transparent communication with coworkers, have a culture that supports a healthy work-life balance, or making time to celebrate team successes. So I want to pause right here and kind of ask if anybody's been in that situation, have they noticed that making a positive change within themselves? Have they noticed that effect in their workplace? Um, have has a coworker pointed it out to them? What is you guys' experience with making positive changes
Yeah.
and having that be reflected in your workplace?
Very cool question. I'll start the convo. So I think like I just had this realization not too long ago is like how I would react when I was 18 or 20 in the workplace is a lot different than I react now. And I think people who know me only currently think I'm oh, you've mastered the calm and the chill of the workplace. The truth is, I learned that the hard way. I learned it from other people who were older than me, that sometimes you just don't, like, it's just so easy to get wound up, and
Mhm,
it's so easy to get caught in the dynamics of, whatever drama is happening that day, because you are there for most of your day. So I
mhm.
think just knowing that I cannot control the tornado that is happening, but I pick and choose where I give my energy that day, it makes all the difference for me. So I may not be changing something at work, but I'm changing how I respond at work. And that for me feels good. And I just find my bubble of, the boundary of when I'm done working for the day versus other jobs I've worked well into the night, felt irritated, resentful, and that's not helping anybody, right? So finding that work-life balance for me has been one thing I really lean into also. How about
Yeah,
you?
I love that as well. And I think Shay, I can kind of give a real life example working with you the past few months. Whenever I was first facilitating these meetings, I would tell Shay all the time, I'm so nervous, or, I hope this goes well. And really working on that and understanding my strength
Mhm.
and what I have to bring, and, what I can learn from others has definitely improved my workplace environment. I feel confident, I feel comfortable, and I think that's definitely important, when you're trying to be the best you in the new year in the workplace or at home or wherever.
I
Um,
would love to connect that, Soraya, to something somebody said in the chat a couple slides ago. I can't quite quote it, but it was something like, when I'm listening to myself talk, I have to tune in with, like, is that true? And like, I think if we went back to the very first group you ran, you inside might have felt like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. I might be nervous. But I don't think any person, including myself, saw that on your face. So knowing that, like, what you think of your abilities may not be in alignment with other people view you. So yeah, I love that comment that somebody made me kind of resonate with that.
so true. Okay, we have a response in the chat. One Kier says, "Hey, I just joined, so I missed some stuff. I'm kind of lost about credit." Kiera, no worries. We're going to send in an attendance sheet. Someone commented earlier that that link that you sent earlier, Shay, was broken, so I might send
Oh,
another one.
cool.
Um, yeah, don't worry about that. Just sign in on the attendance sheet and you'll get credit for the hour that you've been here. But Heather says, regarding to the content, change may be the most difficult task we do, especially for better, because we get so accustomed to old habits and routines where we may feel stuck and unable to get unstuck. I find it helpful when I really sit with the fact that change doesn't happen overnight. It's as if putting a personal puzzle together, and each day is an opportunity to build and create the life and achieve the desired goals we may have. I personally have trouble with being patient with myself. Man, that is a great comment, and dealing with patience, being accustomed to old habits. Um, I think that is a struggle that a lot of people share and can resonate with you on that, right? But it's the fact that you're aware about it, and you have desired goals, right, that you're setting forward, that makes the biggest difference.
Very cool. I
Let's see.
just threw the attendance sheet in there. No need to fill it out again if you already did, but if for some reason it's not working, we'll just write your name in the chat, but or
Yeah, write
message
your
it.
name in the chat. Yeah, or I can send in a
Yeah.
different one or whatever it may be. Athena says she worked at Walmart where the customers appreciated what I did, not the managers, and that was enough for me. I would always care for the customers as I would want to be treated. Okay, great. So you're working on your reactions in the workplace, even if it doesn't evoke the best response from your coworkers. At least you're doing some change within yourself, and I think that's important. Okay. Quick tips: using the 3 Ps method to help you stay on track with your resolutions. So someone mentioned earlier some difficulty with managing ADHD and setting new habits, right? So here are a couple quick tips that we've researched, and I honestly find them really, really helpful in my personal life. Patience, as Heather said earlier, is a constant reminder that change takes time, and that if you maintain your commitment, you have a good chance to make the changes you want, that will be long lasting. Persistence, right? Keeping going. Don't stop. If you fall off, get back on, right? It means you just must keep vigilant. And as the saying goes, keep on keeping on in your journey to change. I love that quote. Perseverance refers to your ability to overcome setbacks and maintain your motivation and confidence in the face of periodic failures and disappointment. Love that as well, right? Like, we face adversity. We're humans. It happens all the time. You know, even when we're feeling our best selves and we got the best intentions to make these goals happen, adversity hits, right? But that adversity doesn't define you. Your struggle doesn't define you. Your persistence, your perseverance definitely outweighs, the barrier that you're facing.
You know what? I'm thinking of another P. You don't need to add it here, but perspective, right? Perspective is everything. So
Mm,
how I look at my relapses, my lapses, my, lack of motivation in that day. Perception is everything. So just being kind to myself, being gentle with myself, being patient, persistent, right? The perspective of the story I'm telling myself about where I'm at in that stage of change is so important. So just be kind to yourself when you're making changes.
I love that. There's a couple other comments. All right. Nanny says, change in workplace has definitely been outstanding for me. I grew and learned how to control my words of thought and maintain calm and professional. Love that. Change is definitely hard. I left excuse me, this is Athena. Change is definitely hard. I left a 10-year narcissistic relationship. That's incredibly hard. And then Heather had a response: in the same boat after many years. Please continue to press forward and be kind to yourself. We are all able to dip our toes out in the water with confidence. The support and love and, just the encouragement in the chat, I think that's beautiful. Yeah, do you want to have any comments on that, Shay?
I just, again, another peer support. I think that is, I definitely love that. And yeah, we resonate with each other. And I think that's the point of these spaces, is to let you know you're normal, what you're doing is normal, what you're thinking is normal, and change is dang hard. So yeah, I think congratulations to anybody who is in the midst of making changes, and just keep going and encouraging each other.
Absolutely. So here are some other tips that we found from Verywell Mind. And I'll just go through them one by one. Focusing on one goal at a time, right? So earlier I mentioned we might be in different stages of change and different goals. Really being able to prioritize your goal in the moment and not thinking of other things that you have to juggle. So prioritizing, I really think, is important for that first tip. Starting with small steps, right? We have a goal, then we have objectives. You have to have little steps to get to the top of the mountain, right? You can't just get there in one leap. Journaling about successes and struggles, keeping tabs, making sure you're keeping track of your goals, checking in with yourself, as Shay mentioned earlier. All of that can be completed through journaling, and really thinking about your successes. Finding ways to renew your motivation. Hard, but so, so important. Making a detailed plan that is realistic and specific, right? So SMART goals, making sure that you can attain them. So if you do slide back, it doesn't feel impossible to get back where you were. Learning to adapt to backslides, as I mentioned. They happen. Adversity hits. We're all human, right? But that doesn't define you. How can you get back to your why, to the importance of why you made that goal in the first place? And then last two, asking for support from loved ones. They want to be there for you. And if they mean it, they will show it. So letting them in and letting them know, hey, this is where I'm at and this is where I want to be. And remembering that change is a process. Doesn't happen overnight as much as we want it to. As much as I wish they had an app for that, they don't. We have to be patient with ourselves. So I love these tips, and I hope that you guys can resonate with them as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I hit this meditation, I do have a couple comments in the chat. Nanny says, also keeping your morals and respect for others as well as for yourself. Definitely agree with that. Athena says, be kind to yourself, love yourself how you would want to be loved, and learn to fall in love with yourself. Yeah, all of those are really, really, really great. So I'm going to walk us through this New Year mindfulness meditation. I'm going to stop it at about the 6 minute point. But feel free to close your eyes, open your eyes, get yourself into a relaxed and comfortable state. And we're just going to go through this guided meditation together and welcome in the new year as we should.
Begin this practice by getting into a comfortable seated position. Spine tall and straight if that feels good for you. Sitting up nice and proud. Hands resting gently in your lap. Whatever feels best for you. And when you're ready, softly close your eyes. Begin to tune in to your breath and your body. Letting your belly expand on every breath in and contract on every breath out. On your next breath in, breathe in extra deeply, stomach and rib cage fully expand. Hold your breath when you reach the top, and whenever you're ready, exhale with a sigh. At the bottom of that breath, repeat 2 more times, dropping into your body with these extra deep inhales and exhales, moving at your own pace. And whenever you reach the bottom of the 3rd deep exhalation, just allow your breath to return to whatever flow feels natural to you. Giving your breath the gift of allowing it to flow at its own pace. And as you become more aware of your breath, you become more present in this moment, feeling yourself in your body right here, right now. Aware of the points of contact between you and the surface on which you are seated. Feeling the weight of gravity, the clothes or air on your skin. You feel yourself present, connected to your breath and body, aware of a tender, loving gentleness in your heart in the middle of your chest. And through this sense of presence, you invite in an internal reflection. In what ways have you improved your life over the course of this past year? Whether or not you set an intention to do so, look back for just a moment and consider with appreciation in your heart all the ways you took steps to improve your life. Did you meditate more? Did you set boundaries? Did you pursue your interests? What did you do in this last year for you? Something special for you and your own growth and development. I'll leave you for a moment for your own internal reflection. Begin to express your thankfulness to yourself for the ways you showed up for you. Say thank you out loud or in your mind. Whether you could only think of one specific thing or many, appreciate what you've done for you. And notice how this appreciation turns into a desire for even more. Even more ways to show up for yourself. Even more ways to love and honor you. Even more ways to be the expansive being of light you came here to be. And as you feel that desire growing in your heart, bring to mind, with a sense of gentleness, an intention you hold for yourself for the upcoming year. If it is a specific intention of receiving something or experiencing something, now ask yourself, what is the feeling you wish to feel in this desired outcome? Give yourself that feeling right now. As you generate those feelings, you recognize that you hold the power within you to experience that which you desire to experience. Take a big deep breath into this inner knowing, stomach and rib cage fully expanding, holding your breath when you reach the top, and when you're ready, exhale with a sigh. As your breath returns to its regular flow of breathing, you regain a sense of inner power, a knowing that you have within you what it takes to continue down your life's journey in the highest, most loving way. You have the ability to give yourself that which you seek in this upcoming year. By giving yourself the feelings first and letting the rest unfold naturally.
Awesome. That was a really great meditation, Soraya. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, that was really relaxing. How's the group feeling? How are you guys doing after that one?
I'll start the convo. I like how this one really tuned into like acknowledging your year. Like even if you like taking the time to acknowledge stuff that you accomplished, even if you didn't intend to accomplish it. And I really liked her guiding us into like the feeling behind the change. So very, very great meditation.
Nice. Yeah, Athena says that was great. Rashida says it was very relaxing. I'm glad you guys got to experience that. And I agree. I think really leaning into your feelings and what you want to feel for the upcoming year is just as important as any tangible goal that you have as well. So Summer says that was very relaxing. And I think I'm going to do one of those a day. Very calming. Kendall says of thinking of myself and leading forward to the year. And then Athena says, we don't always take the moment to be thankful for yourself. Very, very awesome. I like that. Yeah, that's true. We don't always. So I'm glad that you guys saw the benefit of that.
So I am going to, there was something that I wanted to share that I obviously did not share or it'd be in here. Let me get this really quickly. We had it in the newsletter, but I forgot to put it in here for us.
Oh, yes, the 52 small changes.
Yeah, okay, so I do not get a kickback by, suggesting this to anybody, but yeah, oh, I'm sorry if I'm goofing up here this screen. All right. Can everybody still see the PowerPoint?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'm gonna put this link in the chat. It is, it's called 52 Small Changes. They have one that's all for like your mind and your mental health. And then I found, which I do own and I think is great. And I saw that they have another book that's 52 Small Changes for the family. And so I put that in the chat if you wanted to click on it. There's a couple ways to purchase it, but it's basically that same model of each week, if I focused on this one change, and then next week, I do the same one that I was doing last week and a new one. And again, theoretically, after 52 weeks, you would have all these amazing changes that would support you and your family. But, spoiler, sometimes we backslide, sometimes things don't go as planned. So I think it's just a nice concept that you can learn about it, learn about how to implement that small change. And like your goal could literally be to do one. I want to do one small change for my family and do it well and continue it. You have no pressure to do 52. Okay, so Athena had asked, am I supposed to be receiving a newsletter? Great question. So this is a free newsletter. And so if you're not already signed up for it, you can go on CareerLink and put your email in, but also just reach out to your career navigator or to your behavioral health advocate with your email and we can just enroll you in it. And then you get the copy of all this text. We have like a little newsletter that we put it in, and once a month you get it. So if you're not getting it, please sign up. It's free and it comes once a month. So